Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for coming out on an exciting Sunday afternoon. It's great to be with everyone. Of course, earlier this afternoon, received a call from Sharon Line Clary, who's the president of the board with the Florida Citrus Sports Organization, extending to the University of Illinois an official invitation to play in the 2024 Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. Of course, we enthusiastically accepted. Look forward to competing against the University of South Carolina Gamecocks in the game in Orlando on Tuesday, December 31st. I want to thank Steve Hogan, who's the CEO of Florida Citrus Sports, along with all of his colleagues associated with the bowl game. It really is a fantastic game and a wonderful opportunity for our team. It's the first time University of Illinois has participated in the Citrus Bowl since 1990. It really is a meaningful achievement for our program. I think everybody saw the rankings today, up to number 20 in today's final CFP rankings, a team that won 9 regular season games for only the 8th time in the history of the Illinois football program, and achieved a long list of what I would call long-time firsts for our program. I'll have a chance to come back and talk a little more. Coach has got a bit of a timeline today, but I'll come back up and answer your questions. But for now, I just want to thank a few folks. First, I want to thank our fans who showed up just in incredible numbers this year. And I'll talk more later about some of those data points and talk a little bit about some of the things we have underway in terms of tickets, both to the bowl game and for our 2025 season. Also want to thank our players who have just showed incredible commitment, toughness, determination to lead us to this place. I think the work that they have done on the field has gone very documented. What maybe hasn't gone as well reported is the things that this team has accomplished in the classroom, setting program highs in terms of GPA for our football team, and also the things that you're not hearing about in terms of off-the-field issues involving the student athletes with our football program. We don't have those kinds of issues occurring with our team right now, and that is something that translates to on-field performance. And so I want to make sure and thank them for that. Also want to thank our coaches and our staff. This building is a hive of activity throughout the course of not just the season, but over the entire duration of the calendar year. And the work that they have put in to lead us to this place is really without peer. And I just can't thank them enough for all the commitment and effort that they have put forth to put us in this place. And then, of course, the last person to thank is our head football coach, Bret Bielema. He's someone who I met for the very first time just about 4 years ago, but not quite to the day, but nearly 4 years ago to the day, and someone who has had a vision for what this football program can and should be. And he has put absolutely everything that he has into leading us to this place that we are today. He refuses to be outworked, refuses to be outprepared. He is a relationship builder with our staff, with our student athletes. He's a teacher. I saw that in the very first spring practice I attended under his leadership, the way that he interacted with the players, the way that he commanded their attention, the things that he does in this room with film and with preparation. He is someone who teaches the game at a very high level, and someone who is truly establishing his own list of long-time firsts in terms of a head football coach here at the University of Illinois, and I'm really proud to call him a colleague and a friend, and I'll bring him to the podium now, our head football coach, Bret Bielema.
What's up, everybody? Super excited. Kind of echo all the thoughts that Josh had, but super excited for our football team. You know, we talked in this meeting room literally on Martin Luther King Day last January. Talked about 12 guaranteed opportunities were in front of us, and would hope to get into the postseason play, and you know, to have this year, you know, kind of translate to what we saw happen on the field. I know coming off the field is beating Michigan team at, you know, two ranked teams on a stadium field, celebrating 100 years of Illinois football. I just thought that day to be, you know, no one talked about becoming bowl eligible. No one really mentioned it. I did talk about it, and it was kind of more of the standard, right? And one of the things that's really kind of happened as the year has gone on, this team has continued to just fight for their rights, you know, continue to put their best foot forward. There are times where we were ahead, behind, everywhere in between, and just another guaranteed opportunity for that. And I'm really, really excited for that. Thanks to Josh and his whole department, everybody that makes these days possible. Josh talked about a lot of things there that happen beyond football that I don't take for granted. There are those things that happen every day on Mike Maziarz and our academics, just the way he organizes, puts our guys in a position. We've set 3 semesters straight of over a 4.0, and that does translate, I think, into what you see on the football field. Our kids are very intelligent players and do a lot of really good things. So super excited for them. About our opponent, I just literally called Coach Beamer before I came down here, reached out to him and congratulated on an incredible season for them. They've won 6 straight, right? They lost a heartbreaker against Alabama, and then have won 6 straight games against really good opponents. To play, I've been in that league. I know what it's all about. Just congratulations to South Carolina, their fan base, their players. Obviously, a really strong tradition. I'm really excited. I don't know Coach Beamer well. I've known him through the profession just a little bit here, but just coaches that have worked with him, places he's been, and just stands for all the right things in college football, I believe, as well. So super excited about the matchup. For me, it's kind of a unique opportunity. My first ever bowl game as a head coach was against the University of Arkansas, and it's a very game that we won and gave us 12 wins at Wisconsin when I was there, and that set the program record for wins. So to have a chance to tie that here at Illinois with a 10-win would be absolutely awesome. Steve Hogan, who was director of the bowl game, it was his rookie year as well. That first year, he and I got indoctrinated in this thing together. So to see his career continue, and both of us are married now with kids, kind of a changed perspective than the first time we went. Today has been a great day. I actually got to watch my daughters perform in a holiday program. I got to watch a kindergarten class rock it pretty good, and my second grade class and my other daughter to see that on stage today has been a pretty awesome day for a variety of reasons. So, for our players, I think this is awesome, right? To go to Florida, we actually have 17 players from the state of Florida, the highest in the Big Ten. I think 11 or 12 of those guys are starters, so they're not just players on our team. Our most prominent players, obviously, are a lot of them are from the state of Florida. So I think to be able to go to Orlando and have that be a home game for those guys is a really, really cool thing as well. Haven't been able to really mention a lot about it because last week, kind of the way things unfolded, but had 14 all-conference players and to have 11 of those 14 coming back. I think this bowl game is going to have an opportunity for us to win 10 games. But I think because we'll celebrate a group of players that this will be their last guaranteed game with us. Some seniors, and to give them a moment, an opportunity to speak in front of their team, but also to set the stage for next year, right? To have a chance to play in. I know it's on New Year's Eve night, but to play in a bowl game of this prominence, obviously the college football playoffs, a lot of conversations being had, and I've had some fun with that over the last 2 weeks, but I knew that we weren't going to be in that mix. But I mean, just the excitement this time in college football, absolutely awesome to sit and watch. I got a chance yesterday. I kind of came in here during the day, had some meeting with players and coaches, walked through some things that we know are coming up this week, but really Friday night and Saturday to sit and watch college football be at the level that it's at, it's just absolutely just awesome. I love my job very much, but I would tell you that this is probably at a time in college football where it's as good as it's ever been. It's just really, really, I think controversy and conversations are all great, right? I know someone's always got to be disappointed. Somebody's always got to have an opinion, but I think that plays into where our game is at really now at a pretty special place. So want to thank our fans, especially too, right? Like I've said it before, to have a home field advantage here at Illinois is something that I kind of dreamed of, and to see it kind of manifest this year, especially in that Michigan game, was pretty awesome. I know ticket sales are on for next year already, so thank you for everything you've given us in the past. I'm very excited about the future. Hopefully, a lot of you will come down to Orlando. I know it'll be. I know my daughters and my wife are excited about different things, but to get to some warm weather, be down there has been something that we'll be able to take in for a week, and I'm very excited about it. So with that, I'll open it up for some questions. I'm not trying to dine and dash, but we do have a Zoom call with the Orlando media here at 3:25 or whatever it is, so I got to go to that one too. But with that, open it up.
How do you strike a balance between wanting to win the game and wanting to make sure you guys have a great experience? I mean, is there were they one the same?
That's a great question. I think it's one that the outside world probably kind of thinks a lot about, but our guys will snap in. So the game is actually going to be played on the 31st, so we'll consider that to be our Saturday, right? So I just kind of always done that with my bowl teams. Even that first bowl game when we played Arkansas was my first time as a head coach. I kind of pooled everything that I had learned through my time as a coordinator and assistant coach, and then I did a lot of studying with opponents. Like, well, hey, how do you do it? Well, how do you roll? So I've kind of always used that approach. We'll actually fly down Christmas Day on the 25th, and that'll be a Sunday. So it'll be literally like kind of starting a fresh week down there. We'll build it up. There are things that our players want to be involved in. That this bowl has a few events that our players got to go to. We'll structure our practices around that. But I'd like, for the most part, to practice somewhat mid-morning, right? So we get into the routine of what we've been doing. Still working to finalize our actual bowl practice site. We got a couple things we're working through there, but that's what it's all about. And then it's really got to be player driven. As coaches, we can say all we want, but our players got to be driven. I literally shot a message to our leadership council earlier today to, what we thought it was going to and where it was going to play out. So I had a meeting in here on Friday where we kind of, talked about some things that were in front of us. I told them we thought we were going to be in the Citrus Bowl, didn't know our opponent. Everybody was saying it was going to be South Carolina, Bama, or Ole Miss, one of those three, kind of depending on how it played out, and obviously very excited.
Bret, obviously, Pat made his decision about the bowl game.
Yeah.
You have to ask this every time, but with everything happening in football, how do you feel about your roster going into it? And then specifically Gabe and Xavier, obviously, great seasons have processes ahead of them.
This is, was a little bit unusual. We had a signing day in the middle of the week last week, which, brought about some conversations. I knew when we got done with our game against Northwestern, I knew that this week prior to the portal opening up, I was going to have some conversations, right? And we always say conversations are always good. You're either building or tearing down whatever you're speaking. And I always say to our guys, listen, sometimes tough conversations are hard to say, but they're hard to have, but they're actually more rewarding. So Pat and I had some initial conversations. I think there were some things that came into play. We're going to bring him available to you guys in the media. I think it's just one of the most decorated players in our program history. For me as a head coach, I grew with him for 4 years here. So he holds a very special place in my heart. But once he kind of expressed to me what he wanted to do, how he wanted to do it, I totally understood. Kind of the same thing 2 years ago. We had a couple guys, Spoon and the Brown brothers, right? So to this point, I think the only one that's going to not play is Pat. Had some initial conversations with not only Xavier and Gabe, but also a lot of other players. I had about 25 player meetings last week. I'll meet with my entire roster over the next 2 weeks. So obviously you can always get surprises, but last week I met with several players that I felt they had been trending towards doing portal world, right? And so those weren't really shocking to me, and actually some things that I encouraged. Then I told them, hey, I'll help manifest getting you wherever you need to go. It's just part of college football now. So, but that's really the only news I can give you. I think Gabe and Xavier are not going to be blind to the fact I turned in 5 underclassmen that the NFL lets us do 5 of those guys, and Gabe and X were 2 of those guys. We turned in their paperwork as fast as we could to get their grade reports back, and then we'll have a conversation with that move forward.
Retention's been so good for you. How do you feel? Do you feel confident that retention will remain?
Oh, retention?
Yeah.
You talk about players?
Yeah, just of your roster.
Yeah, I think our guys like playing, man. I really do. And to play a quality opponent like this in an environment, it's something I've been kind of breeding into them, right? I kept talking about 12 guaranteed opportunities, and what you do with those gives you the best opportunity on the back end. So I think all that's going to help us play out. Josh has, volunteered some things administratively to help with our guys to retain them. I think I was very upfront with, hey, here's my plan. Really, these next 2 weeks, we'll probably practice 3 days a week. So we'll get in about 6 practices before we go down there, and then we'll have a full week of practice down there. So it's almost 3 times the amount of practice you get for a normal game. So we'll keep it fun. We'll keep it light, keep it short, crisp, clean, get a chance for a couple of our guys to get healthy, and that's really about it.
You talked about after this weekend not talking about being eligible to make that change. Has that been easier to do inside this building than maybe outside?
I only see the people in this building, so I don't really know. Like, even for me today to walk through St. Matt's and, hey coach, think for the outside world, there's probably a lot going on, but not in my world, right? So, no, I can't say to that, right? Like, I think it was more about, hey, let's get this next one. Let's get to 8. First it was, let's get to 7 wins. Let's get to 8 wins, let's get to 9. And I think it's more perception from the outside world. I will tell you this. So, like, Mark, especially my chief of staff, and Pat Embleton, they are very cognizant. Pat Pearson was great, always giving me information from the outside world looking into our program. I think it's a really big deal on the outside, which is awesome. I just don't see it as much.
Those practices you have leading into Orlando, how do you structure that? Is that guys who have gone a lot, or do you use those as Devo opportunities?
Yeah, we had 2 scheduled last week, but with Dana's passing, I backed it down to 1. That was all Devo and 2 deep. And there were some other guys that were players that played quite a bit. I pulled them out, but Yeah, for instance, like so Monday, Tuesday, we're going to do all early down preparation and work on the 2 phases of the kicking game, punt and KOC. So we'll concentrate on that today, tomorrow, and Tuesday. Then Wednesday we'll have a mid-morning practice that will be all early down and focus on that. I'll probably have a 2 to 4 periods a day that'll be strictly 2 Devo guys. Our guys like coaching them and seeing them, and it kind of gives you a built-in break, So we'll do that. I think Thursday will be a lot of the same, and then Saturday will be probably a combo platter, and then I think the next week, those 3 practices we have will be really probably more specific. We'll have a red area practice, a third down practice, and it allows you to really focus on specific things, and also allows me to teach the game. Right? There's a reason you play. The reason you rep early downs is usually 75 to 80% of the game is first and second down, 15% is third down, and the rest are that make up the game. So teach our players how important early downs are and why that is. For who?
For you, maybe, or everybody in this building, do you feel a different vibe than you did 2 years ago when you prepared to go to Tampa?
I think again that group was excited. That was a very unusual, unique bowl experience just because of Mike's passing. There was a lot of different things around that whole week when we got down there. I never felt like the whole world was rooting against you as much as I did, and it was for all the right reasons, right? I mean, I talked to Mike Leach. So we have a press conference, I think next Sunday. I remember literally talking to Mike 2 days before our presser, so there's kind of that whole thing hanging around. The guys had never been to a old bowl game of that stature, right? So this one, I'm kind of glad we get to go to Orlando, right? So it's a new, fresh Camping World Stadium, even though it's renamed. I've been in that stadium quite a few times. I think I played in it 3 times. But I just got smacked in the face. Brett shared with me that we're 0-6 against SEC opponents here at Illinois. So it seems like we're always going up against something of the past. It's kind of beating us down. But I think our guys are going to, talk about being 1-0 and playing in this opportunity. And again, I think to play an opponent to the level of South Carolina, I know they got a great quarterback. I know they got a running back to run really well. Defensively, I know they're a freak show athletically and production-wise. So we'll have our task, set out. But I'm super excited to get one more chance with these guys.
You mentioned after your first season you played in Citrus Bowl, but the year before, Coach Alvarez's final season, you're also Citrus Bowl. Do you have any memories of that as being the transition game from him to you?
With the coach Alvarez?
Yes. Weren't you in the Citrus that year?
Yeah.
So it was kind of his final game leading in.
Oh, before it. I got you. You know what? I can't. I'm getting old. I just remember I was super excited for that game.
It was an Auburn game.
Yeah, the year before.
Yeah.
It was an Auburn game. Yeah, and actually, I think that was in Tampa, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
It might have been, but that bowl game, I just remember how excited I was to be a head coach. We'd won 11 games in a row, and that was a big deal. Had a lot of really good players. So back then, there wasn't really all the, that was in 2006. So one of the crazy things, someone showed me an article that, of my 7 years at Wisconsin. Probably would have been in, if we were a 12-team format, I probably would have been in the bowl game or in the playoffs 5 of those 7 years, which is awesome to think about, right? And I know we're just knocking on the door. We're number 20. I'm not even sure if we had got to 10, if where we'd be. Right? There's some things to work out. I told this to a group I was on a Zoom call on Thursday with the NCAA, and I said, hey man, like I came home the other day, and my daughter's doing new math. I don't know what the hell that is, right? And I said that like this is just what we're talking about right now in the college football thing. Like we're trying to compare things how they've done in the past and comparing to how we're living life now. And it's just 2 different worlds, right? Even that bowl game back in 2006, there weren't opt-outs. I'd never had a player opt out until I was at Arkansas, right? So it was just a different world in college football back then.
Coach, the Citrus Bowl is one of the major bowls outside of the college football
Yeah.
playoffs, obviously. So, it's the destination for this team, but for the program, do you see it as a stepping stone toward that ultimate goal of getting to the playoffs?
Absolutely. Postseason play, I think, is critical, right? Like just a simple thing, like all of our guys that played in 4 games that we kind of had to protect so they didn't use their 5th, right? Now that those guys are all open to play, right? So there's just all kinds of sorts of things to, that are rewarding that's going to continue to take this team forward. I think on Wednesday, I know what our schedule is for next year. I know you guys don't yet, but I think that schedule and the way it lays out is going to get a lot of people excited. And I think the fact that, I'm not going to give away any surprises. We have, Ohio State, USC coming here next year. I think that's a really big thing. To potentially, have as many guys return. Obviously, you never know in the future. But I mean, Luke I was excited when I met with him the other day. We kind of talked about what the plan was long range for him, and he literally hits me up every day about anybody that we want to recruit getting in the portal, because like, you know, when there was transition at Purdue, right, those kids could get in the portal immediately. Like most of the portal kids can't get in until Monday, right? But anybody that's had transition on their coaching staff, those guys could get in the portal immediately, and that's already started to happen over the weekend with some of these teams in transition. So, by the way, say congratulations to Coach Odom. I can't believe Purdue just likes to hire a bunch of buddies of mine, I guess, because Coach Odom and I are very, very close, competed against each other back in Missouri. I literally talked to him on the beginning of last week, saw a presser he had and sent it to him with his daughter sitting on his lap, and just an incredibly good dude, and obviously a very talented coach. Was sat on the couch rooting for him on Friday night, and shot him a text that heard he might be coming close. So I'm super excited for him and his opportunity. But yeah, that's about it.
I'm curious if you've had a second to zoom out, like you think back to the first meeting in here after Penn State, and you've got 2 Florida bowl games, you've got a chance for 10. You've got a chance to maybe think about this build from that moment to where you are now.
I probably will. I have a 55th birthday on January 13th, which is, you know, I was sitting in the living room, I believe, in New York on my 50th, and most people have a little shindig for their 50th. It's a big moment, and I remember my wife's birthday is the day before mine, 2 years ahead, but so we got a pair of birthdays coming up that we're talking about taking like a 2 or 3 day trip in February, just kind of taking a moment. But like, this is crazy. Like last week, I knew it was going to be insane. So now we're going to prepare for this bowl game, and then literally on January 1st, the portal window opens up again, where guys that can come in January 1st through the 5th, and then we go into a live recruiting period in January, which is going to be unprecedented. So I don't see me being able to relax for a while, but I talk to Josh a lot. Josh is usually my grounding man. We've done this, like, you know, like he sent me something after we knew we were going to be playing this game, and it kind of struck me that, you know, he's now as an AD finally getting to live the things that he dreamed of, right, and he envisioned before I was ever here, right. So it's big in that. When I come in and saw Bobby Busboom, right, and Bobby's smiling ear to ear because she was here when it was successful, and I think she's been waiting, and now she gets to vicariously get to do these things now. So and to see, you know, I went to the country club with my family, my girls, Friday night, and I had some people grab me out there that are obviously longstanding Illini fans, and I think the outside world reminds me how much we've changed, right. And I will say this, in recruiting, it's definitely, like, I made a deal the other day. I knew to flip 9 kids, like I've never had that in my career, right? So, and I'm telling you, what's happening right now in the portal world is kids that we were in on that really liked us, but we weren't winning enough for them, which I totally understand. That's not the case now, right? You got a guy like Luke Altmaier, who really could be one of the best quarterbacks in college football next year, could be a Heisman candidate. Like, what do good receivers want? They want good quarterbacks, right? And good linemen. Now, we're not going to go, you know, portal crazy, but I would see us taking, you know, 5 to 6 guys on both sides of the ball that fit immediate places. We have a lot of really good young players coming back. I look on defense like Alex Bray. You know, you got Dylan Rosiak, who's a really good, accomplished linebacker who didn't play the last several games. You got obviously X and Gabe, but Matt Bailey's a really good player. Mac Rossetti, Miles Scott, Caleb Patterson. You know, up front, you got young guys that got a lot of valuable reps. Alec Bryant probably played his most complete game. We had a good conversation with him on Thursday about where he can go in the future, right? So I think those are really good. And then offensively, to have 3 linemen between Geske, Kreutz, and Melvin back, and you know, a lot of good guys competing for that. You get Tanner Arkin, who I think is one of the most serviceable tight ends I've ever had in my career, just a really good player. And Cole Rusk, who never stepped on the field. You got a couple of running backs. Obviously, at wide receiver, we have, you know, 2 guys in Capka Jones, Malik Elzy, and Hank Beatty, who played, and Colin Dixon is a war daddy, right? I mean, there are a bunch of really good players coming back that they get me excited. But I think this game is going to be big to build momentum for that.
But speaking of coming back,
Yep.
You've had a lot of turnover in your staff the last couple of years for different reasons, but after such a successful year, how do you feel about your staff?
Yeah.
And what you guys did this year and moving forward?
Well, first and foremost, again, you know, thank Josh. You know, one of the things I've always tried to maintain, like, if we want to be to a certain level in this conference, we have to maintain that in 3 important areas, right? Our roster, in a way, our roster, NIL's, you know, money, and that's going to become a little bit more balanced, I think, moving forward. And then, you know, being able to acquire a staff and keep it. And, you know, I can't predict in the future, but had initial conversation with a couple. I always start with my coordinators going forward. So I'd fully intend and hope and pray that Barry and Aaron and Dish, those three guys, will be back with us. Josh has already allowed me to have some conversation with them and put that in place. I know that's very, very important. I have a great admiration for both offensively and defensively. I think and it's kind of crazy playing South Carolina. Justin Stepp, we hired from there, right? So this is going to be a big game for him. But I think Stepp has literally helped change the culture, especially in that offensive room. Unfortunately, lost when Dana Dillon was a huge asset to that program and what it is. But I really was excited the way our offensive staff, Coach Ward, just continues to be very impressive. I think on defense, Corey Parker and Archie have been just just incredible. I think for Aaron in particular, because Aaron works with them on the back end, and then Arch is our only voice upstairs. I thought those guys in particular have been invaluable to our staff. And then it may sound funny, but I've been able to hire this army of these young coaches. And I mean, those are going to be in 10 years, those guys are going to be college football. Like I promise you, some of those guys are very gifted. So I don't expect transition, but I never know.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kurt.